this is about trees. I've got my first trees into the game, and I've been working with different kind of tree trunk shaders and tree leaf shaders that I've been writing in shader graph in order to get this kind of rippling effect where the canopy of the leaves ripples to a different proportion than the tree trunk. And in this case, on the one on the right, it's actually just an extension of the same algorithm used for the tree trunk. In essence, both of them, both shaders move the vertices in proportion to the height of the vertex from its origin, and they all have the origin down at the bottom of the trunk, effectively. So it's really the same thing. But because they're using different materials, you can set the some parameters like the stiffness or a factor of how much it moves. And you can see the grass moves. Everything's coordinated. There's I've made a wind map. So if I go into my textures down here, you can see there's a wind noise thing, which I might be able to open that in if let's just open it in front view is probably handiest. So I actually made this in GIMP. What this is 256 by 256 lookup table, effectively. But I've used an image because that's given me effectively three variables, RGB, where each one's ranging between 0 and 1. So in the red channel you can have nothing, or you can have full red, 0 to 1. Likewise for green and blue channels. And then I'm using those to represent characteristics of the wind. So this is just three different types of Perlin noise, or what would you call it, graduated noise, rather than just random noise. So you get kind of ramps, a ramp up and a ramp down between peaks in the data, and then I've superimposed them and to get the final image. So red represents the main, I'm using the red channel to represent the main wind strength, or amplitude, magnitude. I'm using the green channel to represent the turbulence magnitude, and I'm using the blue channel to represent the direction of the wind, of the main wind. For turbulence, for me, I'm making turbulence always 90 degrees to the direction of the main wind, to create a fluttering effect. So the blue channel I'm using for direction, and since it's only a float that goes from 0 to 1, then it represents a bearing from north, or the degrees around a circle, where 1 is the entire distance around the circle, or correlates to 360 degrees, or 2 pi, and 0, 0. So that's how that works, that sampling that channel. So that goes in, that's my wind noise. All my so something like the grass or the tree or the canopy are using materials. So that material, the top material there is this one. So you can see I've got my wind map that it's sampling, and then I have a map scale which scales this up, so you can take your sample point based on where you are in the game world, to sample a position in this map, and the sample frequency. So this sample frequency is to do with time. In the shader, the position in the map is a combination of the world coordinates plus time, so that let's say this tree is it's roughly in the center of the world. It's going to begin with, sample roughly from the center of this texture, but with time it progresses along slightly, and therefore you get a progression of the wind and wind direction and wind strength working its way through that texture, having started at 0. This tree over here would have started just to the left and then follows through that, sort of following behind, and that way you get nice ripples of wind progressing through the grass, across the field, across the trees and so forth. And that seems to be working quite nicely. If I spin round, I've added the trees. I've gone for quite a sparse look to begin with. I haven't finished placing the trees sort of artistically or properly. I've just distributed them randomly at the moment, just while I'm messing around with shaders, and I'll clear the terrain data with their positions and do it properly once I've got my head around the logic that I want to use for what kind of tree will go where.